I'd like to call this meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council, serving as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to order at 3 p.m. Roll call, please. Let the record reflect that Mr. Bartholomew and Mr. LaFrance are not with us yet, but they are in the building. I'm sure they'll be joining us soon. And if you please rise for the prayer. All right. Dr. Goy, would you like to lead us?
We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for the parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We pray that this government body, composed of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do what is right. Amen.
Amen.
We'll follow Commissioner Newberry into the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Moving down the agenda, please.
There is no executive session. Number 3, status report by the Executive Port Director.
Sandy, please.
Good afternoon, President Lapine, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chairman, and members of the board. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. Follows is my Executive Director's report for the reporting period of 26 February to 10 March 2021. During this time frame, the Vice Chairman organized a meeting of certain parish employees, port staff, board members, and employees of Infomark to discuss the origin and need of a water booster station to support the construction of the Venture Global LNG project. It was erroneously stated by a port staff member at the last board meeting that VG had previously been denied permits and a water booster station was needed. This was addressed with that individual, and I also in turn called the head engineer of VG and told him that this was expressed in a public forum. The cost of the booster station is estimated between $4 and $5 million. The port staff is attempting to assist by applying for Port Priority Program fee funds, capital outlay funds, and also petitioning the governor to grant these funds through the CARES Act. There will be more on this to follow. The port staff met with energy executives to discuss shore power services as we mature as a port. This too will be a continual dialogue. We commenced our GIS process with ES Services, Inc. We immediately recognized where we can save money in both time and dollars with this process regarding our tariff schedules and prompt payment methods. We also identified methods to improve our emergency response on the water. Today, you are going to hear a project update presentation by J.D. Russell and Associates. They have been working on a procurement policies, and are here today to provide an 8-slide PowerPoint and to field questions on where they are with the program. Lastly, one of the Port Authority crews was performing maintenance on their vessel at the Empire Shipyard last week. While conducting maintenance, they heard a cry for help from a nearby vessel and immediately responded to a situation where an individual was severely cut on his leg. This is where their training and equipment on hand took over. They stabilized the patient, immediately called 911, field dressed the wound, and kept him alert. When the paramedics and the EMS arrived, they commended our crew for saving his life and also saving his leg. I am reporting this incident among the objections of the crew because they simply felt that they were simply doing their job. So I'm leaving their names out, but I wanted to relay their heroic deeds. Mr. Chairman, subject to your questions or comments or those of the board or the public. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Sandy. Good job to the crew. Are there any questions from the board? All right, hearing none, are there any questions from the audience? Mr. Valley, please come to the mic and state your name and address for the record, please.
It's on.
It's on.
Okay, now you're on. I'm going to do that. I'm sorry. Didn't realize that.
Let's try it again. They're better. Donald Valley, 109 Nancy Court, Belchase, in Jesuit Bend. Two things. I put in a public record request, which is on the agenda later on relative to the budget. I've been coming to the meeting and listening to the status reports coming from the executive director as to what's going on. What I don't hear addressed to you all is, what are we doing in the port? How many vessels are we coming in? What revenue are we receiving every month? And how are we doing comparative on all the projects that we've been working on for the last 8 years? Where are we on those? Mr. Chairman, I know you all get an update from time to time, but the public hadn't. I'm going to bring with me, and I'm going to give to you all, is an update on the new intermodal terminal that's going to be going on down in Violet Dockport. This is a 5-page report that came out 2 days ago relative to what activities are going on in International Port. And I think that ought to be passed out to all of you all at some point in time for your review. Maybe in our next meeting, and I don't want to belabor it today, you can instruct the staff to tell us what's going on with the port. I mean, we have a global venture deal. We have an intermodal port, container terminal we talked about. The time's expired on how long it's been for that study to take place. No one's seen the study as to what's going on. And yet last month, I saw where you all voted in support of putting together another container terminal. Where are we with the one we've been talking about? Who's on first, I guess? We spent a lot of money, and frankly, the parish has lived off of the oil and gas for years. That's gone. The only thing we got left to live off of some of these extra things we have is what revenue is generated by this river. And I think we need to take control of what that income is coming in. Now, I asked, and maybe if you want, we can do it later when the subject comes up with the budget and a budget to actual and a review of that. I have not received it yet. I asked for it at the beginning of the week. I think it's on the agenda. Mr. Colton, you put it on the agenda to discuss it later. So we'll look at budget to actuals and any variance report. Are you all going to present that today? Mr. Chairman, have you seen one?
For your requests, we have 72 hours to respond to you, of which we did receive your requests. We also have, is it a week to prepare?
It's the 3-day window for response, but I'll let the Director of Administration, who's over the public records.
Listen, I appreciate what the law is relative to answering public record requests. This is something that you all have been submitting to this committee for the last 3 meetings. It should be something readily available. I was told it might be on the website. It's not on the website. There's no comparative analysis on the website with any explanation of any variances to look at budget.
Mr. Chairman,
And therefore,
we'll
I
address
asked for
this
it.
at the time, if you want to.
And I was just about to get that.
Okay.
We do have an agenda item, and we will.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We have this on the agenda a little bit further down.
That's fine. I'll wait till then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions by the audience? Sandy, can you tell us more about the shore power situation? This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, we just wanted to give an early warning to Energy. We've been talking to them, off and on for years. The biggest problem I had with them initially was I told them I'm in a catch-22. I can't talk to folks to come down here because they're asking what my energy power assets were, and they weren't going to bring me what I needed to have as support because I didn't have anything to bring down here. So we were doing the do loop. So we agreed, and this is probably about 3 years ago, to start working with each other and realize that one couldn't get out ahead of the other. So this was a good update. We gave them a forecast of what our initial requirements were going to be. They're going to come back to us in a few weeks with an initial proposal, and then they were going to show us how they were going to be able to step that up. And also in regards to what else is going on down there, such as Venture Global.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other comments from the audience? All right, hearing none, moving to the next agenda item, please.
Procurement update by J.D. Russell.
You ready? Need to do that, right? Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Jade Brown Russell. I am the principal of J.D. Russell Consulting. I am here today very appreciative to be able to provide you all with an update on the work that my team has been doing along with staff as it relates to procurement and other policies and procedures. So I thought the great place to start here would be with the scope of work on this project. Before I dive into the three main areas, I do want to first acknowledge and thank the chair and the vice chair for their time earlier this week. I was able to provide them with a brief overview of this presentation. I also want to acknowledge and thank the staff, Sandy, Paul, Chambrell, Christy, Donald, who we have all been working very closely with on this project. We felt like this would be an opportune time to come to you because we're at a great segue right now. There's still some work ahead, but we think that we've made a great deal of progress to be able to present to you all some draft policies for your consideration. As you all know, policies fall within the realm of the board of the port. The procedures, of course, that fall under those policies are procedures that are in large part driven by the staff, but you all are the lead. The staff is going to take their cues from you all. And so I'm really excited about the work that is ahead, but really grateful for the collaborative work of the team that has already been done. As it relates to the scope of work, as you can see here, there are three main areas that we broke this work out into. The first is the assessment, analysis, and recommendations, and I'll give you a quick overview of where we are with each one of these phases. The phase two is policy development, implementation, and compliance, which is where we're deep in pretty much in the thick of that work right now. And then lastly, phase three is training, workshops, and initiatives. So once we have finalized the policies with the board, we will move into training, right, of staff, stakeholders, et cetera, as well as workshops, not just training, but workshops as well to help familiarize folks with the policies from a staff perspective to help them ensure that they can implement and execute the policies that you all as a board have adopted, and also at the community so that they can be aware of these new policies and have them at their fingertips. So this is just a quick overview, and I won't go over the entire slide. There's a lot here. But phase one, as we talked about, was that initial assessment and analysis and recommendations. We reviewed many policies that are existing for the port, as well as a vast number of procedures. We analyzed those policies and procedures and developed key recommendations, and I'll get into that in a little bit. 65% phase two completion. As I'm going to get into in a second, we have gone through initial drafts of several policies. We have one that was prioritized by the staff was the telecommuting policy. Of course, in the midst of COVID, that was a critical policy, and we worked with Christy on that particular draft. We also completed an initial draft for your consideration of the Code of Ethics and Workplace Conduct. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, as well as the Procurement and Public Works Policy, which is really the heart of the work that we're dealing with. There are a number of policies that are going to intersect with that procurement policy, so it was really important for us to take a look at all of the policies that the port is working with. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, phase three, which is really the bulk of that work is to come once this board has decided to move forward with adopting final drafts of certain policies and procedures. We'll move forward with the training workshops and initiatives. Okay, so phase one outcomes, again, I won't belabor this. To the left of the screen, you see a screenshot of the initial analysis and recommendations document that we presented in connection with this work. It highlights, of course, all of the various documents that we reviewed. It also provides our key recommendations as well as priorities for which policies we would tackle first, and I'm going to get a little bit more into that. Our outcomes really wanted to focus on 5 key areas. Commitment, which is what we're doing now. This board saw fit for this work to move forward because it's important to have a foundation of great policies and strong policies that are consistent with best practices. A formal plan, and so what you see to the left of the screen is really the plan for the work going forward. But also, and I'll get a hit on this in a second, the approach that we're taking is having a policy on policies, and I'm going to explain that in the next couple slides. Collaborating internally is really critical to this type of work. The board and staff must collaborate very closely with one another because, again, the board is charged with adopting policy. The staff is charged with making sure that that policy is implemented to perfection. Collaborating externally is also one of our pillars. We are really focused, and the staff is really focused on making sure that the general public is not only aware of the policies and procedures of the port, but also very in tune and involved to the procurement procedures and policies. And so that work will really be important for this project. And lastly, monitoring and compliance. Once you, of course, adopt policies, you want to ensure that you're monitoring them to ensure that those policies are being complied with. And so that is going to be work that is for the staff once this project is completed and we have gone on our way. I'll pause there. I don't know if there are any questions on those first couple of slides. Okay. So phase 2 outcomes, as I mentioned earlier, one of the approaches that we took was one on creating a policy on policies. What does that mean? What that means is actually having a process by which policies are created, that initiated, vetted, and adopted by this board. What does this policy on policies achieve? It achieves consistency, it achieves transparency, and mostly it achieves accountability. And so this document, and I'm going to just briefly go over the highlights of this document, which will be shared with you. The purpose of this policy is to ensure that the port community has ready access to well-developed, transparent, and understandable port policies. The key highlights of this policy: all policies will be in a uniform format. There will be a scope for each policy, a policy statement, and every policy will have someone who initiates that policy. You will have a policy owner, and you will also have a policy administrator. So there are individuals within the organization that are charged with ensuring that policies that are developed properly and also implemented properly. This is another phase 2 outcome, which is the Code of Ethics and Workplace Conduct. To the left of the screen, you can see a screenshot of that document. This document covers a number of different areas for the port. It covers ethics, conflicts of interest, gifts and hospitality, fraud, loss prevention, IT use, anti-harassment, equal opportunity employment, workplace violence, substance abuse, and how to report each of these concerns and violations. This is a very robust document. It is in draft form. Again, this is a draft that will be shared with you all for your review and consideration and vetting. And again, another phase 2 outcome, as I mentioned earlier, is procurement and public works. This is another robust document that will be shared with you all again. This is the heart, as I mentioned earlier, this is the heart of this work. This procurement and public works policy applies to all of the Plaquemines Port, including all of our staff, departments, et cetera. This policy addresses Louisiana public bid processes, solicitation process, procurement processes, including approval processes, and all of the related thresholds related to procurement. This is just an example of one of the flow charts that is included in the draft procurement policy. Again, these are drafts. These documents belong to the board, right? And so you all will we talked with the chair and the vice chair on Monday. These are documents that you all will have the opportunity to review closely, provide comments, feedback before these policies go before you for adoption. And then lastly, phase 3 outcomes. As I said earlier, this is the work that really picks up once the policies are adopted by the board. We shift into how are you going to ensure that the staff is properly trained? How are you going to ensure that the general public is made aware and engaged of these new policies, including the local and small and emerging business vendor process, which will be attached to the procurement processes? And so this is the final phase of this work. And the last slide that I'll share is these are all of the policies and procedures that we have reviewed, okay? The ones in the box are those that we have yet to present initial drafts of. The others are the ones that are not in the box are what you all will receive drafts of for your review, your consideration, and your vetting. And so as you can see, from a policy perspective, we have worked very closely with staff. We're proud of the product that has come out of this work. We were pleased with the feedback that we were able to get from the chairman and vice chairman, and we look forward to all of the input and feedback that the remainder of the board may have for us. So I'll take any questions that you guys may have.
Commissioner Russo. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Russell, for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
On the last page, I guess this is more or less a general question. the policies that you're preparing, are they going to be in a form of amending the existing policies or replacing the existing policies?
Well, in some cases, I think both of those would be the case, right? So in some cases, you will see policies that incorporate existing policies into them, but also build upon the initial policies. So our expectation is that we're not doing away with existing policies, but that we're incorporating those into these drafts and making them stronger and better.
And following along with that stronger and better, for instance, the conflict of interest policies and ethics policies, will they be more restrictive than the state laws?
I'm sorry, say that again?
The conflict of interest policy and the code of ethics policy, will they be more restrictive than the state law?
They're not more restrictive than the state laws. I think what you will see when you review those drafts is that they incorporate existing state laws into those policies. They are reflected in those policies. But most importantly, the policies offer up to those who utilize them a pathway for identifying, for example, what is harassment, what is a conflict of interest, what is the appropriate policy as it relates to gifts and hospitality, et cetera, right? And it also highlights how to report those violations, right? Those issues, who to report it to, and how those processes move forward. So it is not more restrictive, I would not say, but it is certainly not less restrictive than the state law.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board? All right. Are there any questions any comments from the audience? Mr. Henry, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. I basically got one question. Is there the minority participation deal set up in this policy?
Thank you. I can't speak with the mask on. I apologize. So that is a huge component of the procurement policy. We have already been in conversations and already have drafted a program that addresses small and local vendors, including minority vendors, how they can be more and better connected to opportunities at the port. And so that includes not just a policy, not just a program, but that's part 3 or phase 3 of this work, making sure that we are going out and doing outreach to those who want to be connected to opportunities at the port.
Let me follow up on that.
Mr. Russo, you have the floor.
So following along that line of theory, will these policies on minority participation set a mandated percentage, or is just a recommendation?
So, no, sir. So mandates are actually challengeable from a constitutional standpoint. So this will be, much like you see across the state of Louisiana, this will be a goal-oriented program. One thing that the Port of Plaquemine and the parish of Plaquemine do not have that other kind of larger municipalities do have is a disparity study. Disparity studies really drive the work related to minority participation programs. So this will be a goal-oriented program that focuses not just on minorities, but also on small businesses and local businesses. But it will definitely be a part of your procurement policy. Did I answer your question?
Thank you, Mr. Russell.
You answered my question right on the tee. Thank you, ma'am. Colonel, starting on the ground floor, doing it right. You're doing it the way it should be. You and Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Mr. Scorsone, please state your name and address for the record.
Mike Scorsone, 150 Adam Drive. Question on the conflict of interest that you had Would it be a conflict of interest if any of the members of Port are on a level of on a lobby group, like a chairman or something like that? Would that be a conflict of interest?
So I want to emphasize that these policies are in draft form. The board has not had the opportunity to review them and vet them. So I think my answer would be limited to what's currently in the draft. The draft does not specify at that level, right? What the drafts of these documents do include is a process for disclosing conflicts. It defines conflicts and also how to report conflicts. And so in the example that you gave, unfortunately, I'm not in a position to say exactly whether that would be a conflict because it would depend on the circumstances. But again, this would be the guidepost by which staff would review it. It also applies not just to the staff, but this policy also applies to the board as well. So it would be something that the board will consider when they're vetting that policy.
All right, thank you both. Mr. Valley?
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little confused. When you all approved this RFP, RFQ, what it was to go out for a procurement policy for the port. We all emphasized and was concerned at that time that it would not be more onerous than what is already doing in the parish and put more burden on people coming down to do business with the parish, that we would not create a monster. We're dealing with a little small port down here, and we don't have much activity. But yet, I've seen now that this contract is expanded from just procurement into rewriting all of its policies, which I did not know was the original scope of the contract. If so, the original bidders didn't have the opportunity to relook at it all. Third, where are we with the budget? I mean, this has gone way bigger than what was contemplated when I heard what you all approved in the beginning. Yet no, there's been no question to it. Yet we're sitting here talking about rewriting and adding things onto state law. We have laws in the books now. We don't need to make our business and doing business with the port in the Plaquemine Parish any more complicated than what we have for the parish and its rules existing today. Maybe a few procurements. So I think I'd ask if you all would look into that a little bit deeper and see where we're going with it, because this thing's going to get to be a monster.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Valley. Any other questions from the board? Comments, concerns?
Yeah.
Mrs. Newberry, please.
Yeah, I just want to thank Ms. Roussel for coming today to present, I'm sorry, Ms. Russell, I apologize. Thank you. I just want to thank you very much for coming today to give an understanding to the board on what's taking place with these policies and how we're trying to improve the port and to get a better understanding between the board, the administration, and the public. So we've had a conversation, I believe Monday, Mr. Chair, that we are going to distribute these drafts. Is that correct? And we've asked that the board look at those drafts and we've talked about a 30-day process to look at these drafts. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the chair and the vice chair, and then we'll set up meetings. So we're giving y'all 30 days to review this draft before we adopt it. Thank you.
Ms. Riley, please state your name and address for the record.
Tracy Riley, 13482 Highway 23, Belle Chase, 70037. My question is, how does the policy address measuring success? In particular, when you speak about goals for making sure that the contract awards will be properly spread across the demographics, how will you report that, and how will the citizenry know how you're performing against those numbers? And if it's at all possible, would you please address the previous question or concern that this is a small port and that it is growing beyond well, I think the words were it was getting to be larger than anticipated. So if you would address the reason you were asked to come in and do this and how it's going to be used for the intermodal transportation hub, I'd appreciate that.
That's a great question, and the prior question was also a very good question. One of the things that we talked about in our meeting with the chair and the vice chair on Monday is the growth of this port, right? And as you all can imagine, anytime you're talking about an organization that is growing, you want to ensure that it has a solid foundation. And so that is the work that we've been focusing on. We have reviewed, in large part, all of the port's policies and how those policies intersect with procurement in providing opportunities in a fair and equitable way. And so I think as it relates to how you see some of these other policies intersecting with the procurement policy, I think that addresses the first question. As it relates to the second question about how we mark success on these various projects, again, these documents are in draft form, but our recommendation is that every opportunity that applies to the program, large and small, those opportunities be looked at on a case-by-case basis to determine the ready, willing, and able small, local, and minority businesses that are able to participate on those projects in creating goals around that work, that scope of work on a case-by-case basis. That is in comparison to what you see in some other jurisdictions, which is in other jurisdictions, sometimes you might see a flat across the board, for example, 35% goal, DBE goal. That because you all are a small port in a smaller parish, our recommendation is that you look at each opportunity on a case-by-case basis and establish a goal for each opportunity. That also allows you, as the speaker just asked, how do you track success? You can track that on a case-by-case basis on each opportunity based on the goal that was set in the opportunity that is before us. That is that phase 3 where we talk about, phase 2, where we talk about what the compliance and monitoring will look like. That is not a part of our contract, but it is a very important and key element to the creation of policy. You should not create policies if you are not ready to not only implement them, but also to monitor them and make sure that there's compliance. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Russell.
No.
Any other comments? All right. Thank you again for your time and your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, moving along.
A, financial report budget.
We've already.
That's okay, thank you.
Moving along, please.
A, financial report budget to actual.
Good afternoon. All port commissioners have been provided a 2021 total budget report and detailed budget report with actual expenditures shown as of January 31st, 2021. As of January 1st, 2021, the port would have completed 8% of the year. Any budget categories with a 5% unfavorable variance would yield attention. So basically what that means is revenue variances at 3% or below would yield attention. At this time, we have none. We are currently at 4%. Expenses with 87% or less remaining would yield attention. At this time, there is none. Our personal services have 94% remaining. Financial services have 95% remaining. Operating services have 97% remaining. Capital outlay has 99% remaining. As you all are aware, this is only 1 month of data. The year is just starting out. I normally would give my financial reports at the second board meeting, which takes place in Point LaHash. So we usually be able to close out a month, but because February really hasn't been closed out, we're only in the 11th day, I usually don't complete reconciliations and closing until about the 14th of the following month, 2 weeks. So that is why it's only about a month of data for 2021. I asked that there will be no financial report at the March 25th meeting, that we can resume our normal schedule of the financial report at the Point LaHash meeting on April the 22nd. And at that time, I will be able to provide a first quarter snapshot, basically 3 months of data then. And we can, you'll have more details and more data to analyze for the budget. If there are no questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Burrell. Are there any questions from the board? Are there any comments from the audience? Please step up to the mic. I tell you what, we'll just wrap these two agenda items together since they're one and the same. Mr. Valley, just a general reminder that it's more comments than questions.
Mr. Chairman, you want to wait till the other item comes up on the agenda where I've asked for this information?
I just mentioned we'll be wrapping these in together.
Today? Now?
On this agenda item.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We're going to be wrapping these together on this agenda item.
That'll be fine. That's good. We still don't have any financial information. They say,
7B, discussion regarding the March 6, 2021 public records request sent to the Port Harbor and Terminal District by Donald Valet and the budget to actual financials which were to be presented and discussed at the last 3 port meetings. Commissioner LaFrance.
I'll relinquish the floor to Mr. Valley.
members, as I stated earlier, we keep getting this budget to actual report, but the public never sees a report. Supposedly it's in your binders. It doesn't go into any detail, and the statistics don't get shown on the board here. I had to resort to asking for a FOIA letter to see if we can get this information. And again, it takes 3 days, but this is something that's on your books now. It's not on the website. There's no financial information that's there. And I'd like them to present it to the public at these meetings. Not just for me, but for the public. Mr. LaFrance, Mr. Chairman, you all.
This is a public agency, and the books are a matter of public record. There are proprietary things that the port does work on, but they're usually not the level where they're baked into the budget, like line items.
Well, asking for a budget actual, this is their report they give you all, and it should be public. And it doesn't require us to view, I mean, look, this is the budget they submitted to you all in detail, line item. It goes just like the bridge thing. Nobody reads them, but I read them. And a few of us come to these meetings that read these things and look at budgets and where we are. This port is spending a lot of money. There's a lot of revenue that comes into this port. If you all approve the budget, let's see if it's there. I'm not saying there's any variances or at all. We haven't seen a budget, a variance report. Now, I think, frankly, it ought to be looked at quarterly. It doesn't have to be looked at every week. It doesn't have to come to this meeting every time. And quarterly is long enough for you all to look at a budget and any variance and adjustments that need to be made as to what's going on with the adjustments. But it's not just the budget. The budget will tell you stories about what's happening, where we're spending money, what's going on with Global Venture, what's going on with the container terminal, what's going on with the pits, what's going on with the revenue, how many ships are coming in the river, where are we developing business in this port? What are we doing with this port? We spent 8, 12 years, and a lot of money, and we don't have anything to show for it. Hope to God we can get Global Venture to come down here. But nothing else is coming. I mean, if I sent you all that report, what's happening in Violet, and I can tell you, until such time as that gets developed, which is a 3 to 4 year deal, I can't see that we're going to have anything until we get the infrastructure. And the port killed that by telling them, let's build this bridge and the toll put through, because we'll never see Walker Road put through. Walker Road was a vital instrument of this port in a plan. It had an air cargo terminal developed. That's pie in the sky. We got all the other access to be developed. Unless we have roads and bridges and ingress and egress, we're not going to have a port.
Thank you, Mr. Valley. Appreciate it. Mr. Roussel, you have the floor now.
Yeah, I just want to know, what is the administration's intention on the public records request?
We sent out an email to Mr. Valley acknowledging receipt of his request on Monday when I received it. And today, I sent you,
I got it.
we sent it to him
Doesn't answer
today.
anything. When's it going to happen?
Did you read the email?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did it?
We're following the policy and what we, state laws. So this is, I mean, I've reached out to him. I've let him know.
Let's get to the quick. When will he get the document?
When he provides a money order for this, he wants it electronically, and it is our policy. According to Louisiana Department of Administration, they charge 25 cents a page or $10 for a CD or thumb drive for documents.
I want to come look at it.
Okay. Make a break to come to my office.
I'm sorry?
Call me, make an appointment.
Well.
Due to COVID constrictions, just let
And
me
if
know.
necessary,
Yeah.
I'll spend $10 for a CD to put on there.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I emailed him today with this information.
I received that today, but that's still not. All
right.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. And when I receive it, I'll publicize it.
Thank you. I mean, it does seem like a lot of this could be avoided, and some of the ends of the presentation that we had before us, this sort of transparency of policies, et cetera, plugging in the local community to some of these business opportunities. If folks could have a look at the budget here and there, maybe they could build their businesses around some of the needs of the port. So, I mean, I would prefer to see it on the website, and we wouldn't have to, deal with these public records requests like this. What's the opinion of the staff on that?
Our current policy, in accordance with the state agreed-upon procedures, is that I provide my board with a budget to actual comparison monthly, which is what we have been doing at the past couple of years. We have went back and forward with the structure of this presentation, whether we go into detail, whether we summarize this, and how it's communicated to the board. I have adjusted as requested from board members as such. Until, I've received requests for one-pagers, some like a lot of details, some like a little. I have provided all of that to the board. So our current policy is to provide that information to the board on a monthly basis. That is what I'm doing. Unfortunately, the policy, in order to provide the public with documents, is through a public records request. So again, when a member of the public requests information, I ask that they follow that policy and contact the Director of Administration, just as I have done with Mr. Valley. I apologize that policy isn't prompt enough for some, but it is the policy, and we're doing our best to follow that.
Thank you, Shambro. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, moving along the agenda, please. Thank you for your time.
There are no bids and advertisements, and there are no introductions. Number 6, ordinances and resolutions on second reading and final passage. There are none for 6A. 6B, a resolution affirming support for continued efforts towards construction of a container terminal within the jurisdiction of the Plaquemines Port, Harbor, and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Yes, I'll offer it, Mr. Chair.
Offered by Commissioner Newberry. Seconded by Arborough.
Yes, this legislation's been on the table for quite some time. It's just a resolution hoping that the board unites on what's to come for Plaquemines Parish, a new container terminal within the jurisdiction of the port. This container terminal will will bring us jobs and great economic boom to Plaquemines Parish. I'll move. And you have any, Sandy, have anything to say about this particular legislation on the table?
Commissioner Russo, you have the floor.
I'm going to let the director speak, then I'll.
Oh, please, Sandy, by all means.
Yeah, this container terminal, as you stated, would bring in jobs, and it also brings in ancillary businesses, which bring revenues not only to the port, but to the parish, which is badly needed. I think in the last 5 years, we learned a lesson by being totally dependent on one industry, and if that industry suffers, then we all suffer. So this is probably undoubtedly our best bet to diversify and become a world-class port with the God-given location that we have.
Thank you very much. Roussel?
Yes, just a couple of points within the resolution. We talk about between river miles 50 and 60 as the ideal location. Does that exclude any other locations?
No, sir. I think we're continually to find different locations that would fit a business. And we're blessed with almost 100 miles on each side of the river. So, but specifically the container operation would be in that area.
No, I know, but we put this resolution out there for publicity, to be able to say that we're supporting a container facility.
Yes, sir.
My only concern is that, or not concern, but question is that when we say in here that the ideal location is between mile 50 and 60, if someone came to you and told you they wanted to locate on the east bank next to the rail, that wouldn't preclude them from coming, would it?
Absolutely not.
So do you think that these resolutions would be better worded if we opened the door a little wider than just to the narrow framework of mile 50 and 60?
Well, we're talking specifically about the port, container port.
Well,
Now, I think if you want to say that our whole parish, the entire river, we're amenable to accept any and all businesses, provided they are environmentally safe and clean. We'd be foolish not to use all our assets, which is all of our river.
and I agree with you 100%. That's why I understand the focus of your administration is in that box.
Not necessarily.
Well, that's what this resolution, indicates.
This is a resolution for the container port. My focus has been throughout the parish.
For a container terminal?
No, sir, for many, many businesses.
Right, so that's my point, Mr. You see, I'm open to a container terminal that would locate on the east bank, the west bank, wherever the people want to invest their money. The entire effort from the Port Administration has been in the Omni box. I understand that. I spoke to the Vice Chairman about this, and I said that I would support this, but I think it's narrowly drawn and gives the wrong impression that we're only looking at that one little box. So, and I understand the studies that you allude to indicate that's one of the best spots, but just my comments.
And I understand your comment, and quite frankly, I agree. I think we ought to use our entire parish, and we're not discouraging anything. So if you feel that limits us, then we'll just cross that out. Because I think we ought to use everything we got to our advantage. And Mr. Mickey was going to build a container port on the east side, and I told him I was his biggest cheerleader. Go ahead. Mr. Chairman, you want to cross that 50-60 out? That's fine. And I think that sends a pretty bold message to the world that we're united in this.
There is a Class 1 railroad on the northern side of the East Bank. I think it would be prudent if we did pull that out.
There's no objection. I'll make an amendment, and I'll write it out right here.
Okay.
As numerous studies have identified scratch and add areas in the jurisdiction of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District on the east and west bank. Insert east before west, and insert and west bank of the Plaquemines Parish, and delete between river miles, and insert on the Mississippi River.
In lines 15 through 17, now we just, in one company, could do the barge traveling, open it up for everybody.
No, if you look at the exclusivity, they had to have that exclusivity to get their funding.
In that one port you trying to build between 50 and 60.
I think we're talking semantics here, okay? We got to honor that agreement with American Patriot Holdings.
I offer the amendment as read.
Second.
All right. Offered by Roussel, seconded by Bartholomew.
Still have someone want to talk on the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we cancel this vote, please? Thank you very much. Mr. Valley, please.
I don't have a comment on the amendment, but on the original. So before you vote on that, I'm confused as to why we're talking about doing this. I mean, of course we all, hey, the person in this room doesn't want a container terminal to come to the port, the river. It's a no-brainer. But at the same time, are we talking about another container terminal? Because where are we with the container terminal that you all got a letter of agreement or something on? There's a study going on. What are they saying about a container terminal? Why don't we look at that before you put together any kind of thing saying we're in favor of anything? You don't even know what the study said. All those old studies said East Bank's where to put the container terminal where we have intermodal, not down the river, which yet we spend all the money down the river. So I mean, here we go again. Pie in the sky plans without reading what we have available to us.
Are there any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Mr. Bartholomew?
what it is what it is. What has been going on is in process. And I think we need to move forward with the process that comes in that's on this table for the container port, and not being able to deviate at this point in time because of what has been spent in time and in efforts and in money. And the longer we defer to do anything, the longer it takes us to get this thing under operation and get people employed, and where parish should start assuming some revenues and be able to provide services to its people. So, I mean, we're not going to change this. We're going to move forward. So I think we need to, with that in mind, whatever adjustment need to be made, we need to make it and just move forward. And that's why I second Mr. Roussel's resolution. I think it's warranted that we do it that way.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Bartholomew. Mrs. Newberry?
Yes, because this is my legislation, I have had that discussion with Mr. Roussel. I think what his recommendations are, I'm pretty open. It just brings a larger area from one end of the parish to the other, East Bank to the West Bank. So it's not a very major change, and it kind of opens us up to just the whole parish, not just one location. So I'll go ahead and then accept that.
Thank you for your comments, Mrs. Newberry. Are there any other comments from, please step up to the mic. Mr. Frederick, state your name and address. Small town, we know everybody here.
Elton Frederick, 108 Victor's Road, Belshash. Yeah, I agree with this, with Mr. Roussel said about, the whole parish. I kind of remember talking to the people wanting to build a LNG plant down in Bohemia, Puddlehash over there. And I asked them, why they wanted that location, and they said it was the best location for, having to do with the river, the pipelines, and different things. But I asked them if they were, if they were requested to maybe put it on the port property, and they said they were, but they got their own, got their own land and made their own arrangements and put it in the better location, you know, and I'm just saying, you know, we shouldn't be, you know, we want jobs and everything, and, but we can't be given tax breaks or tax exemptions to try to get somebody to move on a port property, you know, and then, for jobs, and then people can't get to work, you know, you can't afford the ferry because we don't have enough tax money coming in, you know. And then when we get the jobs, I know a lot of people that I used to work with at the refinery down the road, you know. Once they get on, a lot of people move to the North Shore and stuff and drive into the parish, you know, and so we're you know, we need to, you know, like you said, just not give tax exemptions and try to force people to go to this property to make it work. Look at everything, you know? That's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frederick. Mr. Cormier, please, by all means.
Good afternoon, Chairman Blink. I guess as a preliminary matter, will the council vote on the amendment first? Because my comment would go to the resolution as a whole.
I'm willing to accept your comment right now.
Okay. I would just like to commend Councilman Newberry for this resolution and simply request that anyone and everyone who votes in favor of this resolution should also vote in favor of Councilmember Roussell's resolution regarding challenging the toll tax. And the reason is this. Patriot Holdings has selected the West Bank as a site for which would be, at this point, I believe, a third container terminal, in addition to the one in St. Bernard and one on Napoleon Avenue. And one of the things with container terminals, whenever one has access to move containers by truck, that certainly adds value and would increase the likelihood of the success of Patriot Holdings. So we live in a world of limited finances, and I think by voting in favor of this and voting in favor of Councilman Roussell's resolution against the toll tax, it would benefit and increase the likelihood of Patriot Holdings being able to go out and get the financing, because then they could move containers at their proposed site via truck, as they do on the Napoleon Avenue terminal. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, President Cormier. Any other questions? Or I'm sorry, comments? Hearing none?
For the amendment.
Let's vote on the amendment. All right, all in favor? And voting on the actual legislation now?
Voting on ordinance now. Voting on the amendment.
Mr. LaFrance?
Voting on the actual.
Mr. LaFrance?
You gotta vote for the resolution now. Then he amended it.
Mr. LaFrance, we're waiting on your vote.
Once the amendment passed, you shouldn't have to vote again.
All right, all in favor? Something we can all agree on?
Thank y'all.
Welcome, Mrs. Newberry. Moving along the agenda, please.
C.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the board with the unanimous vote. Obviously, we don't agree on everything, but it's certainly a great vote to have unanimous for this project. Very much appreciated by the board staff.
You're welcome.
6C, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of proposal for providing actuarial services for the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District for a period of 1 year with the option to renew for 2 additional terms and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And it is a fill in the blank.
We'll defer to the staff on this one.
Yes, the finance department is required to record post-employment benefit liability each year. And that service and report is provided by actuary service consulting and providers. On February 17th to March 11th, the request for the qualification and cost estimate was posted to the Port's website. A number of direct solicitations were issued out to companies, potential bidders, and we did receive 2 proposals.
We need an offer in second. I thought she was
sure,
just going to fill
certainly.
in the blanks.
My
Oh, I'm
apologies.
sorry.
I'd like to offer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newberry.
Thank you.
Apologies.
Okay, so we did receive 2 proposals. We received 1 proposal from Sigma Consulting Corporation and Fontenot Benefits and Actuary Consultants. My recommendation is to fill in line 10 with Fontenot Benefits and Actuary Consultants. We also have a blank on line 17, and it will be filled with the same. Fontenot Benefits and Actuary Consultants.
And Shambrell, just to, for the knowledge of the audience, there's a lot of curious folks here. This is already line itemed in the budget and is about $11,000 annually, correct?
It has been in the past. We actually received some quotes that were lower than that. We received, so it should be starting at $2,000. And there is funding in the budget for it.
Thank you. All right, are there any comments, questions from the board? Any from the audience? All right, hearing none, call a question. The vote passes 9-0.
6D, a resolution authorizing Maynard Sandy Sanders as Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District to extend the current consulting agreement with Latter and Bloom and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Mr. Chairman, we do have a revised contract with a change on page 2. And that change is under term of agreement, changing the contract where it says the port at its discretion can extend the contract upon council approval for an additional term not to exceed December 31st, 2022.
And may have a question or two for the staff. Sandy, can you,
We need an offer.
I'll offer it.
offered by Commissioner Newberry. Sandy, could you
Next for a
explain?
second.
Oh. Like the second, seconded by Kognovich. My apologies, I'll break a procedure here. But Sandy, could you tell us a little bit about what this real estate agent exactly does for the port and some of the progress they've made to date and what loose ends are still out there?
Sure. We hit a pause on purchasing property, and I think we all understand that. We wanted to have a good gut feeling that Venture Global was going to go when they did. I did not have enough funds to go on the actual property where the container terminal is destined to be. So I concentrated, as the board directed, to go after from parcel 4 up, which is what we refer to as the piano keys. Our agent has been very busy going out talking to property owners in good faith. He's getting very good response. There are some folks that, like we always do, that they think they're their house might be worth more than what an appraisal is, and we're being very respectful when we're, getting those things appraised. But he's working hard and diligently for us to secure those properties.
Thank you for your comments.
Mhm.
Are there any questions? All right. Commissioner Newberry, you'd like to proceed?
Yes.
right.
We'll call a question unless somebody has something to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Comments?
How much is the contract?
How much it costing? Rates? What's the rates?
And maybe
25
annually what we might have spent in 2020 on this contract.
Right. He's actual. It's a set rate in his contract. He does not work on commission. He works.
Cool with it.
To the board, Mr. Chairman, it's a set hourly rate. There's no set contract or what it would be. So the hourly rates and the contract that you guys have seen, Mr. Egan's rate is, 225. We have one other person, his administrative assistant is 65, and his, I guess you say here, his other deputy, if you will, the rate is 150. You guys all have that rate schedule in the contract.
Sure. All right. We're well aware. We just want.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Me?
And is there a number on the annual expense last year in pursuit of the piano keys?
Wait out. We'll dig it up.
Commissioner Russo, you're queued. Would you like to go ahead while they're finding that information?
Yeah, I just want to be clear that the effort on the piano keys has just begun in the last couple of months. And so the effort that's for the last 5 years has been on other properties. So, I'll leave it at that, but could you update the share drive and put his invoices on there for 2020, since they were not on there for 2020? They were on there for 2019? For Ladder and Bloom. Thank you.
For 2020, the total amount of money that we have paid to Ladder and Bloom was $15,317.84
And
in
how
2020.
Do you know how many properties were purchased in that time?
Zero.
I'm not. No. That's incorrect. I believe it's 2. But I'll get the exact.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Mr. Turner, can you please come to the mic and state your name and address for the record, please?
Burgard Turner, 161 East Bellevue. Just a quick question. Did I hear you correctly? Does it total like $435 an hour?
225.
Was that?
No. It's
So-
each individual person. There's a certain rate.
Right, so combined,
No,
right?
no.
It's not? So it's,
No, because of one person.
If they work at the same time.
The question itself is, the premise of the question is inaccurate, in that would be the assumption that everyone's working on it at the same time. For each person, when they provide their efforts, they have separate rates for each person. So I cannot say exactly that total it's going to be for every hour it's the combined rate, because not everybody's working on it at the same time and works the same amount of hours. But each person has a separate rate, which we provide to the board, and I just announced it.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Turner. Are there any other comments, both board and audience? All right. Hearing none. The vote passes 9-0.
E, A resolution of the Plaquemines Parish Council, acting as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port, Harbor, and Terminal District, authorizing and directing the initiation of litigation related to the proposed Belle Chase Bridge project, authorizing and directing the Port Chairman, Richie Blank, to engage special counsel for such litigation and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Mr. Chairman, we do have an email from a resident.
Could you please read it, Ms. Barb?
This email is from Mr. Reed McClellan. Dear Port Commissioners, I am deeply concerned about the Plaquemines Parish Port considering litigation against the state of Louisiana. Although no one necessarily wants a toll bridge, there is no doubt the only way for our parish to be relieved of an ancient drawbridge and constantly leaking tunnel is with a toll bridge. It is a necessary step for progress. One only has to travel to Houston or other thriving areas of economic development to see that toll bridges and toll roads are becoming a way of life. We are falling behind due to our lack of vision and focus on what needs to be done for our port. More importantly, I feel the Port Commissioners will be showing negligence in their duties to provide necessary leadership to help expedite the construction of a port for our parish. If they were to approve this illogical step, this consideration will only delay much needed progress. I urge the Commissioners to reject item 6E. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. McClellan, for lack of vision and guidance. All right, appreciate that
Need to
comment.
offer?
I'll offer the resolution.
I'll second.
Offered by Roussel, seconded by Kognovich. Are there any questions, comments from the board?
I'm going to reserve my comments till the end.
All right. Any questions or comments by the audience? Mr. Cormier, welcome back.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Blank. The only thing that would be illogical would be not to support unanimously by this board this resolution. And the reason is this. Many members of this board have spent millions trying to attract businesses such as Venture Global, a proposed project for LNG, the proposed project for Patriot Holdings, and a toll tax for ingress and egress out of this parish will increase the cost of doing business. It will hurt Venture Global and Patriot Holdings' ability to obtain the financing, to build those projects. Last I heard, and the price I'm sure has gone up, Venture Global, the price tag for that was about $8 billion with a B. If you propose another toll tax on their ability to access their property, well, I'm sorry, there's no, correct me if I'm wrong, has there been a lease signed yet? Or no, there's been no lease signed yet, but that's where the proposal is. It's on the west bank of Plaquemines Parish. So the only thing that would be illogical would be to spend money to pave the way for these proposed businesses and then not do anything to help those businesses to get the financing. Because if Venture Global or Patriot Holdings wants to truck in traffic for both for pieces to construct their sites or whatever, or for deliveries, now they have to redo their cost projections because they're going to be paying a toll every time they leave this parish. We don't have a lot of manufacturing in this parish, and so they're going to have to bring those goods in to the parish. So I think the email was from an individual who's an insurance agent or a financial guy or something, but we have spent a lot of money in this parish to bring industrial services, manufacturing back here. And not the toll bridge will hurt those investments that we've already made. It will hurt the ability for us to see a return on investment of those investments that we've already spent the money on. It's also the case that that's from the business standpoint. From the residential standpoint, I would simply ask that all of you support this resolution because Plaquemines would be the only residents in the state of Louisiana to have to pay a toll tax for ingress and egress from their residence. Now, some of you say, well, wait a second, there's a toll tax going to Fouchon. That is correct, but it does not apply to the residents in Grand Isle. And that brings us to another business aspect, which is the Venice Port, which has always been an economic engine for this parish. The one advantage that we still had on the Port of Fouchon to bring back some of that oil and gas port business was that if you went to Venice, you did not have to pay a toll. Now, if you go to Fouchon, the businesses have to pay a toll to go to Fouchon. So we will be giving up that one last advantage to try to get some business back to the Port of Venice, which has been a historic, proven, and time-tested engine of economic activity. And finally, there are so many other ways to finance this project. There are Garvey bonds, there are GAN programs, the infra grant money. There was never any federal ties. The federal regulation, and we were all there. I mean, Councilman Black, Councilman Bartholomew, Councilman Roussel, we were all there when the U.S. Secretary Child came and gave us that $45 million for this project. If you look at the federal regulations, nowhere does it condition that you have to have a toll tax. That was money for infrastructure. As long as it gets spent on infrastructure, then we should be fine. And now, DOTD, the state DOTD, has set this project up to be a toll tax project, but it doesn't have to be that way. So unless anyone has any questions for me.
Thank you, President Cormier. Those are all very strong points, and we appreciate you sharing those. Representative Cormier.
Thank you all. Thank you, Councilman Roussel, for bringing this. Quickly to answer the email, the only lack of vision that existed, or lack of optimism, existed at the state level when this was brought up, and to not go and look for a better deal. I tell this story all the time. In 2016, I was not an elected official. I put a plan in the hands of the United States Deputy Secretary of Commerce for a bridge across the river crossing into Bellchase. The same day I spoke with the gentleman who was in charge of the largest infrastructure in the world, and I asked him, do I need a toll for this? Now, obviously, Mississippi Bridge, a bigger project. He said, you never need a toll. I quote, you never need a toll. So we should have had people going out looking for better deals. It is what it is. When I ran, I spent tens of thousands of dollars. No tolls, no tolls, no tolls. I wanted to affect this. But as soon as I got into office, they rushed to sign the contract. That was it. As a state representative, I could not break the contract. It falls to the council. You have the ability to get a better deal for the people of Plaquemines. After that happened, the next scenario that came up, it was a teleconference between myself, Councilman Roussel, and members of the No Tolls group, where Senator Connick brought up the idea of a reduction of taxes. Senator Connick will bring that on the Senate side. I'm bringing the same bill on the House side. And we really hope we can pull that off. But the fact of the matter is not a trade-off, okay? Let's think optimistically, and maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe my bill will get through, or senators will get through. Maybe we can get both. But we know that you're stuck with a horrible deal that a second grader would understand was a horrible deal if you don't take action and sue. Nobody likes to litigate, but the hardships that the people of Plaquemines face right now are obvious. The seafood industry is depressed. The oil industry is depressed. COVID has affected everyone. Every little bit helps. So I ask that y'all move forward with this. Thank you for y'all's work, and again, I hope we have a favorable outcome here, and Councilman Roussel, that this goes through. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Representative Cormier. Mr. Scorsone, please state your name and address for the record.
Vic Scorsone, 125 Woodchase and Bellchase. Guys, I stand in front of the council. I stand in front of y'all again, pleading for y'all to do the right thing. I can't find anybody in Belchase, and I've been studying this for 2 years. I can't find one person in Belchase that says this is a decent deal. This is not about the deal. This is about finding out whether or not they crossed their T's and dotted their I's legally to get this, to proceed with this deal. If they were supposed to get a signature from the Port Commission or Port Authority and they didn't get it, why would you sit over here and let them slide? This may be the last time you get to have a stick against the state that stuck us to this horrible deal that we could bring them to the table. What I'd like to see happen, I would like to see our commission get a stick and tell the state what we want for our citizens is we want a free toll for every registered vehicle in Plaquemines Parish, resident vehicle in Plaquemines Parish. That's not asking too much. They did it for Grand Isle, but Grand Isle had a stick. We don't have a stick right now. At best, when we go to vote, the state looks at the Plaquemines Parish right now, at best, we have between 6,000 and 8,000 votes for the governor. He could care less about us. They could all care less about us. Matter of fact, at the Joint Transportation Committee meeting that I attended, one of the Joint Transportation Committee meeting personnel, committee members, thought that this bridge was crossing the Mississippi River Bridge. That's how much they knew about this project. It was embarrassing that they're going to vote on our people here, and they don't even know what the project's all about. I've talked to a few of y'all and individually, and one thing you say is that, well, you know, if we do this, the state's going to hold the port as hostage on this deal. Now, if that's not illegal, I don't know what is. How can they hold the port that they have nothing to do with? They may give us a permit, but they're not going to give us money. They gave $20 million to Mississippi River, the Orleans Parish for 2 cranes from the BP money. Matter of fact, they just gave a bunch of money to St. Bernard Parish for their port. How much have they given Plaquemines in the last 4 years? Has the state gave any of the Port Commission people, have they given y'all any money at all? In the last 3 years, has the state given the port any money? None. So what do you think? You think they really worried about our port? Honestly, it's a private venture. So to say that the state's holding this above our head is that's frivolous. That's just an excuse. I've studied this. I am the expert in this parish on this whole project, and it stinks. It stunk from the very beginning. I was happy $45 million were given to our project. It's like buying a house. You know there's going to be a mortgage. Until you find out how much that mortgage is, it's a good deal. Somebody gives you $45,000 toward your new house, you're happy. When they tell you it's $4,000 a month for your mortgage, you tell them, oh my God. We have to be able to walk away from deals like this. We didn't have that opportunity. Remember, they had 2 signatures for this whole deal. They had the governor and the Secretary of Transportation. Y'all didn't have one single say about this. The port gets up there with Pobby and says they're for this thing, but yet the council's against it. How can that be? How can we have one group for it and another one's against it? How can that be? I thought we were supposed to be unified through this thing. How does the port and this bridge tie together? You mean to tell me that 18-wheelers are going to want to go through Belchase and Gretna to get to Highway 90? That doesn't make any. I don't want to go through Belchase and Gretna to get to Highway 90. You think an 18-wheeler does? You think that 50 a day is going to want to do that? You think and also the train's going to go through there. Peters Road has always been our first choice for a bridge. But to spend $750 million to cross the Intracoastal Waterway, not a good deal. So the state stuck us. There's no other way to say it. They stuck it to us. Now, our only chance to get a stick against the state is this right here. And I can tell you, I haven't met one person yet that says that y'all should not vote to take that last swing at the state. Y'all might make them mad, but sometimes they have to be told what to do. I mean, they can't come over here. Why don't we just put a toll right there, Captain Larry's? Anybody wants to go fishing below Captain Larry's, let's charge them $10. It's parish. The state could put a toll on our road. Why can't we put one on ourselves? Make our own money. I would like, okay, first of all, our toll went from 45 cents to 20 cents. You know who paid that extra 25 cents? You know who's paying for it? The state. You know how much plenary gave up? Nothing. They still making their $800 million on this whole deal. Now they got to pay stuff. I understand that. So even if they make $400 million profit off of this, that is ludicrous for a bridge that crosses the Intracoastal Waterway. It's a cookie cutter bridge. So I know some people are on the fence. I think it would do well for you to at least take one more shot at the state legally. It's not going to cost that much to do this. I mean, you're not stopping progress on the bridge. They're still going to continue. You want to get a judge to look at it and say, maybe they didn't do all cross our T's and dot their I. Maybe they did. It's our last chance to get what's best for the people of Plaquemines Parish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scorsone, for your thoughtful comments. Mrs. Landry, please state your name and address for the record.
Heidi Landry, 166 Colony Road, Belchase, 70037. I can't breathe with the mess. Okay. I guess I'm up here for two things. One, the email that Trudy received. I guess I wish I would have said, please read my emails, because I've emailed everybody up there numerous times. So I wasn't going to speak, but since I didn't get response except from one person, I just want to express that I would love for y'all to vote for this. I think that a lot of you are worrying about the state a little too much and should worry about the people a little much, because the state did this to us. And at the DOT, at the meeting, they thought this bridge went over the Mississippi Bridge, the Mississippi River. They didn't realize it's a canal. These people voted on our lives that knew nothing about this area. And it was a joke. And it's very sad that we're worried about the people who are pushing this down our throat. We're worried about what they think and what they might do in the future. Quit worrying about the future. Quit worrying about the port. Quit worrying about all that. Worry about what they've done us. What have they done for us? No one can tell me anything that they've done for us. So I think I think this is probably a big long shot, and I'm very disappointed that we're at this point, but I hope that y'all do the right thing and fight for what's right for this parish and for the people. This is huge, and I don't think, and the people that you got that one email, I know I haven't met one person, even the people up here that actually have spoken to me, know this is not a good deal. So why wouldn't we fight for what's right? I don't understand that. Why wouldn't we fight for what's right? So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Landry. Hi, Mr. Scorsone.
Mike Scorsone, 150 Adam Drive. I plead to the council to please support this resolution. When we went to the Joint Transportation Committee meeting back in December, I think 19th, 2019, they voted for this project to progress. The council got a review of the draft comprehensive agreement, 30-day review on a draft comprehensive agreement. However, never got a chance to review the final comprehensive agreement. Do you know why? Because it wasn't put together. Here's the final comprehensive agreement right here. We had the Joint Transportation Committee vote on something that they didn't have a chance to review. We had lobby groups in there. We had 3 specific lobby groups in there that green carded this project without looking at this. It's blind. It's absolutely blind. Even the dates in here are on the signature date, December 19th. Do you know when we got this? January 9th, 2020. That's when Senator Pat Connick emailed it to us. At the time, Chris Leopold didn't even have it. So these are things that stink, as other people have said, about this whole deal. And this is a chance for us to air it out in front of a judge and see if anything sticks. So please, I'm pleading to the council, please support this resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Thomas, please state your name and address for the record and your affiliation this afternoon.
Yes, sir. Bobby Thomas, Director of PABI. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, PABI's here to say that we've been advocates and supporters of improving infrastructure to accommodate existing and future businesses in Plaquemines Parish since our founding in 2005. After careful consideration, we chose to support the new Belle Chase fixed span bridge, replacing the antiquated bridge and tunnel, which have both exceeded their useful lives of over 50 years. Understanding that PABI members, as business owners and citizens, would have the burden of a toll placed upon them, we believe the benefits of a new fixed span bridge outweigh the cost. A major part of our decision was the toll bridge was the quickest path to obtaining new infrastructure. We should be driving on a new span, not prone to malfunctions or leaks, in just 3 short years. We have much in common with many of the individuals opposed to the tolls. PABI would definitely support all measures to reduce or eliminate tolls. We are actively working to find a path to complete the Peters Road bypass and the widening of Woodland Highway. And we also believe it's unfair and unjust that other bridges are being built in the state without tolls. But the best deal we could get is what is being constructed today. We're focusing on the benefits. For these reasons, we are opposing to filing a lawsuit to stop this project. We believe the state is our partner and not our adversary. We believe that the time to try and stop this project, unfortunately, has passed. We are concerned this project is well underway, and should the port delay the project and then lose this fight, economic damages may result, which the port or parish can hardly afford. We hope that this body, citizens, state delegation, federal delegations, and the business community work together on a plan to reduce and or eliminate these tolls over time. We ask the Port Commissioners to vote no today on filing a lawsuit against the state of Louisiana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Again, Mr. Valley.
You've heard it all. And there's going to be a day of reckoning coming soon. I hate to say this, but what I haven't heard going on is, what about the people? What do the people want? Business, I can't believe a business association wants a toll that's going to cost them more money and cause economic disaster to them as far as any future development that goes on in this parish. We talk about bringing all the traffic down Woodland Highway, yet everybody opposes any expansion of Woodland Highway. It's absurd. It's going to go that way. We're going to have a truck route down Woodland Highway and General de Gaulle. And if the state doesn't want to prepare that and the city of New Orleans want to fight that, they're talking about, I asked Kristen Palmer, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to put a toll on the bridge down there. I'll collect some more money to take care of the road with all the traffic you're going to send me. We should have gone down Walker Road. It's too late. All we can do right now is take a chance and file this litigation. And don't be afraid to file litigation. I've been in business a long time. I've had it filed against me. I have businesses, and if we file it against other people, sometimes it's what you got to do. It's like going through a divorce. Eventually, when it's that bad, you got to stand up and file and walk out. And this is our chance to walk out and represent the people. I know you all are very concerned and voted against this in the past, but you were for it in the beginning, but yet it changed because of the fear of the state reprisal. The state's not going to reprisal against us. What are they going to do? I mean, this is absurd. We have little to bring to the table except that river and the port and the residential and its people. We want to chase everybody out the parish. We're raising our assessments. We have no flood protection. We're going to have all the high FEMA bills, and we're going to have another bill. I've done P3s when I was on boards in Baton Rouge for residential portions. P3s are great deals, but they should not be used as a first-time proposal for a highway on existing roads. Maybe to build a new road, as they're talking about in Baton Rouge, fine, put a toll bridge on it, but there's an alternative route to it. There's no alternative route here. you all have an opportunity to try to bring the state back to the table again with this litigation. And that may be all we can do as far as discussion with them, to bring them to the table. But you should represent your people that you were elected to do, and support them and show them that you're willing to do something for them. And maybe let the lawyers and litigation go back and forth with this thing. And I plead with you all. I mean, look, it's a difficult thing. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, but, you know, tough decisions have got to take tough times. And we're here today. And I hope you all would vote in favor of Mr. Russell's proposal.
Thank you for your time and consideration, Mr. Valley. Mr. Scorsone.
One more comment, Vic Scarsoni, 125 Wood Chase.
Vic.
To think that Bobby thinks that $750 million.
Sir, unfortunately, we're only allowed one public comment per person for each.
He thinks that.
Hold on, Mr. Carney, hold on 1 second. I'd like to ask for a waiver of the rules for Mr. Scarsoni.
Sounds fine for me.
I keep on going. So Bobby thinks that.
Actually, per Rule 18, you have to do a majority vote of the council for that.
All right, call a question. Let's do it.
I move that we waive the rule for Mr. Scarsoni. Machine is open.
You may have the floor.
I just can't believe that Bobby, them being a business group, thinks that $750 million coming out of our metro region is a good deal for a bridge that crosses the Intracoastal Waterway. Matter of fact, Bobby was with us, the No Toes group, till the 12th hour. We found out the day before the Joint Transportation Committee meeting that they're going to give a green card. We don't know why they flipped. We don't know why they think it's a good deal. But I'm telling you right now, think about that, $750 million. We could have built a bridge across the Mississippi River. We could be gone from Belle Chase to Chalmette. That would bring some business to us, wouldn't it? So we got two ways to get out of Plaquemines Parish, and you're going to toll them, at least one of them. We're not going to get the third one. Don't think that Peters Road is ever going to come. They got $750 million to not do Peters Road now. Matter of fact, what's the latest y'all have heard about Peters Road? Haven't heard anything. I've been looking. Nothing on Peters Road. Zero. You know why? They're going to kick it down the can. They're going to kick the can down the road. We don't need that. They're going to have this beautiful new bridge. Matter of fact, I asked Sean Wilson 3 or 4 times, will you condemn our bridge or condemn our tunnel? You know what he told me? Structurally, it's fine. He told me that 3 times. Because if you would have condemned it, they'd had to replace it. He knew that. I studied that also in the state, that if they condemn a bridge, they must replace it. That's why I didn't condemn the bridge or condemn the tunnel. $26 million was supposed to fix our tunnel that's leaking. That was years and years and years ago. They put $26 million to fix our leaking tunnel. Guess what they did? Nothing. If you think the state's going to sit there and help us out, their track record is just the opposite. We're a small community. We're a small voice. They could care less about Plaquemines. So everybody that thinks that we're going to make the state mad, they made us mad. They could care less. So fight for the citizens of Plaquemines. I understand that. Look, I want a new bridge too. I really do. I'd like a new bridge. I'm not willing to pay the mortgage for 30 years for this new bridge. It's ludicrous, guys. I don't see how y'all can't see that. Everybody on the panel, on the commission is probably a good business person. You would never buy a house worth $750 million when it's only worth $170,000. You'd never do that. And you want the citizens to pay for this thing. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I don't know why you wouldn't support this litigation. Like I said, it doesn't hurt anything. The state might respect you for doing this. They may. I met the governor. When I showed the governor the Hoover Bypass Bridge that was built for $114 million, under budget, under time schedule, he looked at Sean Wilson shaking his head like, look at this. We have a $170 million bridge. That's what it costs to construct it. They built the highest bridge in the Western Hemisphere, arch structure, for $114 million. Listen to that, $114 million to get at the Hoover Bypass Bridge. It's beautiful. It's actually people actually go there to take pictures against it. You think anybody's going to come take a picture of our bridge? But it's going to cost us $170 million for it. Bow Brothers built the other bridge right now that we have right now. Matter of fact, that bridge and that tunnel built all of Plaquemines Parish. I don't see why I can't keep on building Plaquemines Parish. Oh, the hazardous trucks can't go through it, but for the last 50 years, they've been going Woodland. Who cares? I could care less whether they have 500 trucks on Woodland Highway. That's not my preferred route. If I'm going to AMC to go to a theater, you think I'm going through Algiers to go to AMC? If I'm going to Sam's, you think I'm going through Algiers to go to to Sam's? No. If I'm going to a hospital, am I going through Algiers to go to a hospital? You know, I'm going to Algiers to go to Mississippi River Bridge. That's the only reason I'm going through Algiers. Only reason. And like I said, guys, this is the last chance we may have to bring the state back to the table. And that's all we're doing here. We might not win, but it's a win-win for y'all. If y'all vote for this and the judge says, yep, they didn't cross all their T's, let's go back to the table, state, you win. If the judge says, they crossed all their T's, you could say, hey, guys, I went to bat. The judge said no. Y'all win-win. Think about that. Win-win. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and commitment to the issue again.
Can I speak?
Yeah, certainly. If
I'm
you'd
in
like
the
to make
key.
Mr. Schatz, or if you can go ahead, please. Mr. Schatz, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tim Schatz, and I'm the general manager of Riverside Recycling and Disposal at 11266 Highway 23. Good evening, council members, Chairman Blank, and Port executive staff. Please recall last summer as chairman of the Pobby Association, I met with each one of you, and I find you all as being very professional, gracious, and courteous in meeting with me. Sometimes I met with you more than once, and I acknowledge and appreciate this council's willingness to listen. Today, I'm here as general manager of Riverside Recycling and Disposal. For over 25 years, building debris, demolition, and hurricane debris has been disposed of at our location along the Hero Canal and behind Duplessis Sand Pit. Since 2007, I have managed this fully permitted C&D landfill. In 2018, we received an LDEQ permit renewal to continue operations into the year 2033. This permit renewal process, which included concessions to our Oakville neighbors, required a large capital investment for our private company, a very large investment. If you wouldn't mind if I could hand this to you, to hand the council members, just so they have that for their information. As part of the permit renewal process, we hired Lauren Scott and Associates of Baton Rouge to evaluate the economic impact of our continued operation. I will leave you a two-page copy of our LDEQ permit and a one-page LDEQ social and economic benefits summary. But I'd like to briefly say it. Our continued operation brings an estimated $3.8 million annual increase in business sales due to our operation to the community. I say the community, it says the Riverside region, which includes our market area. Our market area is south to Venice and is north to the bypass. $400,000 annually in direct earnings are paid to RRD employees. $1.2 million annually in indirect earnings to residents of the Riverside region. Again, that goes down south to Venice and out to the West Bank Expressway. In addition to the 9 facility employees, another 29 jobs will be generated indirectly as a result of our operational spending, and an estimated $400,000 annually in local sales tax revenues due to the increased household earnings resulting in RRD operations. I only bring that to you because at this point in time, we are for the bridge. We think it's an economic boom for us, which translates to additional taxes and revenues for the parish. I believe Vic's economic evaluation of the plenary bridge deal. We all believe it at Pobby. It's very factual. And we don't understand why we would pay $700 million for a $135 million bridge. However, Governor Edwards was reelected in November 2019, and that changed the whole dynamics. He wants this bridge. This is his bridge. The Department of Transportation director works for him. He's pushing this bridge. A lot of you have met with the governor, and he has not backed down. You showed him numbers. He just gives you a blank face. Again, this bridge he wants. And I believe him when I hear him say, take it or leave it. The prompt construction of a new bridge and closure of the tunnel and drawbridge will grow our business. We believe that as a company. We're allowed to believe that. But our customers believe it. Our customers support this. These are customers that use the bridge and are not going to go down Woodland Highway because that's going to add several more miles onto the vehicles. They're going to continue to use the bridge. We believe it's going to increase our payroll, and we believe it's going to increase our prosperity to our customers. Plaquemines Parish needs Governor Edwards and our Transportation Secretary Wilson's full support of infrastructure projects. Without their support, and I can't believe anybody thinks that they're going to support us if we file a litigation against them. People don't react that way in business or in politics, in our opinion. Why would we be naive to believe that pending federal state stimulus infrastructure money, which is coming down the pipe with a new president, why this money that's being distributed by the state, federal money being distributed by the state, why do you think any of it may even end up here if we're suing the state? We believe the Peters Road bypass is viable in the future. We certainly believe the railroad relocation is viable in the future. We also believe that a toll reduction through some sort of gas tax increase is very viable in the future. At this point in time, we believe it's not a good idea to fight the state, not the governor. We urge council, the Riverside Recycling and Disposal urges council not to engage in special counsel for litigation to stop the bridge construction. Again, thank you for your courtesy.
I have a question before we leave the table.
Mr. Kognovich is in a queue.
I'll let him ask his question.
Kognovich yields. Mr. LaFrance,
You said Mr. Evers got reelected as governor. Did he win Plaquemines Parish?
I don't know the demographics.
I can tell you, no, he did not win Plaquemines Parish. He's a Democrat, I'm a Democrat. He did not win Plaquemines Parish. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kognovich, you have the floor.
Yes. Sat here listening, and, Pobby has their right to think the way they want. They're representing businesses. What they're not representing, and what none of them are elected official. We represent the people of Plaquemines Parish, and we got to speak for them. A couple of them came up here and spoke, but we speaking for the silent majority. How many things we going to let the state push down our throat? Here it is, a toll bridge. Next, we're going to have a diversion. Then the parish president gets a letter from Mr. Wilson saying you need to pay $3 million to move your water line because the bridge is going to be in the way. So how many things we going to have to take down our throat before we stand up and have a say-so for our people? And I yield.
Is Kirk Lapine or any member of his administration in the room right now and can speak to that? A request from Plenary or the state of Louisiana to move our water and sewage lines on the bridge site?
I can speak to it because Mr. Lapine met with me and gave me a copy of the document. And what happened was exactly what Mr. Kognovich stated, that the DOTD called Mr. Lapine and asked him to put up the money to move the water line. Could cost anywhere, estimates from $2.5 to $3 million. And Mr. Lapine responded, absolutely not. This is your project. You would have to pay for it. And so Secretary Wilson prepared a document, sent the document to Mr. Lapine, which I have a copy of and be glad to provide to you, and I provided it to the Vice Chairman of the Port. stating that, well, we found some money and we'd be willing to pay up to $1.5 million, leaving us on the hook for the remainder of the project. So I was holding my remarks till the end, but if you think all of this rhetoric that you're hearing about the state's going to be bullying you, they're already bullying us. They're trying to get us to pay for a water line in the project that they're willing to extract $700 million out of the people of Plaquemines Parish to pay for, and they want more. How much more is it that the people have to pay here? It's ludicrous. And for those people to come up here and say the state is going to work with you if you be nice, where is the history? And where is the product that they've helped us with so far? And I'm going to back off and close my remarks later.
Is there anybody here from Plenary or DOTD that would care to speak in regard to that?
They ain't coming in.
They ain't coming in.
We'd love some clarity.
I gave it to you. But we'll sit up here and say, oh, I'm not going to vote for a lawsuit because it is going to cost us money. When 2 years ago, 5 of them voted to sue ourselves.
Mr. Schultz, please state your name and address.
Chris Schultz, 411 Monclaw, Belchase. I wasn't going to speak. Y'all are going to vote the way y'all are going to vote. But just sitting back, listening, I have my own personal views on whether this lawsuit will succeed or not, but that's my personal view. But Plenary is already not honoring the contract. According to the contract, once they sign on that dotted line, they are supposed to maintain the bridge and the tunnel. Last time I checked, the tunnel's still leaking, and every time they're working on it, guess what? It's DOTD out there, not Plenary. You can see on their vests, you can see in their cars, it's not Plenary. So is DOTD doing it, or is Plenary? How's this on contract? Talking about removing funding from Peters Road. Last time I checked, there is no funding for Peters Road. So using that as an excuse, I mean, Peters Road was always supposed to be priority. And then next thing you know, overnight, it switched to Belchase Bridge. Talking about no money going to the port. What are they going to do? Take $0 from nothing? I mean, we got nothing from the state recently as looking through the financials. Last time I checked, I looked at 2019 financials. Grants was $66,000. Don't know if it came from the state or not, but $66,000 is not anything to worry about compared to $800 million. It's been a while since I looked at the thing. Sean Wilson in the DOTD meeting admitted that we were test subjects. I don't like being called a test subject. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but to say that in a public meeting, basically saying this bridge is a test subject for Lake Charles and Baton Rouge Bridge was wrong and basically taking advantage of us. I know Pobby said it's past the useful life. There's other bridges exactly like ours throughout the state that is older than ours. So to say that is wrong. It's because the state did not maintain the tunnel and the bridge properly that now we are paying for their negligence, basically. They let it get this bad. I mean, and then, let's see. And then the second last thing is we're scared of the state. You know what? Last time I checked, y'all are elected for the people of this parish. We have Representative Cormier here. Senator Carter is our state for the northern end. Senator Connick's for the other southern end. They're fighting it. So they're a representative at the state level. So if they're going to fight at the state level and they're not scared of the state, y'all are here to represent us at the local level. So I don't understand using that as an excuse. The people elected you to represent them, not be scared of the state. You are not representing the state. You're representing Plaquemines Parish. And the last thing, last time I checked, we were in negotiations. Haven't heard anything on negotiations in the past year. Have we been negotiating? Have we got no results over the last year? If so, why? If not, I mean, that's the last I heard was over, I think about a year ago. It's been so long. But what's the status of the negotiations? Last I heard, we might get something from the windfall. Is that the only thing? If so, let's put this to bed one way or another. I mean, everybody's tired of it at this point. Again, I have my personal views, but it doesn't matter what my personal views are. What does your constituents want you to do? Y'all all talk to your constituents on probably a regular basis. Vote how your constituents want. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Schultz. All right, I'd like to call a question.
We have one more person coming up. Mr. Blink,
What's that?
we have one more person coming up.
Oh, certainly. Mr. Turner?
Burgall Turner, 161 East Bellevue, Port Sulphur. Mr. Schatz made the comment that his business and he wants the bridge. I think most of us want the bridge. It's not the bridge that's the problem, it's the toll that's the problem. We don't want the toll. Mr. Russo, a quick question. What's the basis of the lawsuit? Because I don't have it in front of me, and I didn't see it.
The basis of the lawsuit is that they did follow the law on an agreement with the port.
But then that becomes a no-brainer. Listen, we are expected to follow the process. Why are we debating whether we want a bridge or a toll? The bottom line is they did not follow the process. And it's incumbent upon you as our representatives to hold them accountable. You don't have to be mean, you don't have to be rude, but respectfully hold them to the process. And sometimes the only recourse is a suit, a declaratory judgment, some type of suit that you're able to bring, but it's incumbent upon you to hold them accountable to the process. And if Mr. Roussel is correct in that they did not follow the process, and you know that they did not follow the process, you have no choice but to do your job and make them follow the process. We can't do it. You're our representatives. It's up, whether you agree with the toll, our position or not, you're incumbent. It's incumbent upon you to hold their feet to the fire in following the process. And listen, if we have to fear the state, that in itself is a problem. We should not be operating from a position of fear, especially when they have violated the process. It's incumbent upon us, incumbent upon you, to support this legislation, being that you know that they have violated the process. And I'm going to repeat what someone else earlier said, do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Turner. Are there any other comments? Mr. Henry, please join us.
You know, ever since Mr. Comey was president, this deal came up with this Petrie deal. I stood right here. I said it was a bad deal. Guess what? 2021 is still a bad deal. Man, you represent the people. You gotta give us some justice, man. $800 million? That is crazy. I know every last one of y'all, the majority of the people in your district do not want to pay no tolls on a bridge. Pabby, you're wrong, man. Y'all is wrong on this deal, man. Sometimes you got to be with the people. You got to be with the people. You guys was elected by the people, for the people. Do what the people need sometimes, man.
Any other comments?
You got me.
Mr. Russo, you have the floor.
Yes, I'd like to close on this legislation and make a few comments. The negotiation ended when the governor and Sean Wilson decided that they had a good deal and that they weren't going to do anything about it. So the negotiations were over after we met with them. The statements that are being made about who do you represent and does it come from your heart or your head or you're vindictive, I got that from the guy who sent in the email earlier today that was read. This comes from my heart. I represent my constituents. I'm not up here carrying a flag or a banner because I want to see some type of victory for myself. You know, I can afford a quarter. It's not for me. The deal itself is a bad deal. And for someone to come up here and say the businesses want this, well, I represent businesses, and all of the businesses that have called me in the last week are against this. And some of them have dropped out of the business organization because of this issue. And they're not going to pay their dues anymore for a business organization to counter their interest. And I'm representing my constituents, which some of them are businesses. We talk about the port is to be built. The whole idea of this port is supposed to be private investors. So why are we worried about the state? Makes no sense to me, because that's what we've been selling for the last 7 years since I've been here. Some raise the issue of the cost of this litigation. The litigation is already drafted and ready to be filed. And it'll be filed in the next couple of days if we have the courage up here to approve it. As far as cost, $2,000 to $3,000 possibly if it even gets to an appeal. And as was stated earlier, we spent more than that suing ourselves for an obvious outcome. The water line issue was really an insult when the administration received that request for the people of Plaquemines Parish to pay $2 to $3 million to move a water line on a $700 million project that they stuck on us. Again, this is not the best deal we can get. I've heard that today. This is the best deal. Well, I surely wouldn't want you investing my money or my time in a deal like this if you consider this the best deal, knowing that you have an opportunity to at least take another swing at the bat, as Mr. Scarsoni uses in his analogies. Swing the bat. You got another swing. Why would you go home when you're at the plate and you still got another swing? Makes no sense to me. But I can guarantee you, when the lights go on, it still won't make any sense to me from when the no votes pop up there. Believe me, it's going to be expected, but it won't make any sense to me. You know, we talked and we sent an Attorney General, we sent a request for an Attorney General's opinion on this contract. And the Attorney General responded, I'm going to have to pass on this opinion because this contract is ripe for a declaratory judgment. And you know why? Because if we file this suit, the state's going to have to defend this contract. And it might be his office. And he knows what this is about. We contacted the Legislative Auditor's Office. And you know what they think? They think the same thing. It's a bad deal. So the comment was made about no economic damages, or we would be subject to economic damages. That's an incorrect statement. Truly a false, misleading statement, because we're not stopping this project. We're declaring that the contract is not proper and illegal, which we hope the judge rules. Now, the $95 million that was put up by the state and the feds are being spent today. So the only injured party would be the state, who inflicted this pain upon us. And as you see, just as Mr. Schultz pointed out, who's maintaining the bridge and the tunnel? I see the DOTD people up there on a regular basis. Now, I don't see any improvement. I still see the lights burned out, no improvement. Yet they're collecting money for maintaining and operating the bridge for over a year now. So, you know, I could go on and make more comments, but I think that the cast of the votes was set in stone when we walked in this room. And it's not because of all of the things that have been said here today. It's because it's a political decision, and people have dug in to a position that is so far from the reality of things, makes no sense. But because of the politics, they're going to hold to their position, and they're going to stick to their position. And I wish them well. When the people for the next 30 years pay that toll, they can look in the rearview mirror and thank those individuals here for not taking the final swing. Thank you.
I'd like to call a question. very unfortunate we lost our last chance.
Thank you all for coming, especially all of you Little people and people who have expressed your concerns and all the time and effort that you have made over the last couple of years. But as you can see, the die was cast before we got here.
I would.
Item number 8,
Verbal like you like, John.
approval of the minutes from the February 25th, 2021 meeting minutes.
I'll offer.
Second.
Where are we?
Mr. Rousseau.
This is minutes.
The vote passes 9-0. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Kognovich, 5:11 PM.
We need a vote.
Vote. Passes 9-0. Thank you all for coming to the meeting. I'd like to call this meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council, serving as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to close at 5:12 PM.